Okay, as I've said before, there are basically three things you can enter into Excel. The first one being text, the second one being numbers, and the third thing, which is where the real power for Excel comes in, is formulas and functions. Okay, so we have formulas you can do, which might be as simple as adding two numbers or numbers in two cells together. It could be built-in functions that are as advanced as ones that will help you figure out what your monthly payment is, if you know how much you want to borrow, your interest rate, and the length of the loan. So there's a whole variety of things and lots of different built-in functions that you can use. The most common thing you'll probably do is add a range of numbers, and so that's what we're going to introduce in this video, and I'll show you about that. But before I do that, I want to introduce the concept of built-in functions in general. Built-in functions are designed to do either common tasks or complex tasks, and like I told you before, there are lots and lots of them for that, and they all have the same basic format. They start with an equal, and then there's some sort of a keyword. The keyword tells Excel what function you're using. Then there's a left parenthesis, an argument or arguments, and a right parenthesis. Okay, now that's not a legitimate function. If I press enter, it's not going to know what I'm talking about, but they're all going to look the same way. What the keyword is will change, what the arguments is will change, but they all take that same format. And the way you get to them, again, if you know what it is, you can type it in. So that's one way. For sum, which is the most common, that's the first one on this auto sum drop down. And as you can see, we have sum, average, count numbers, max, and min. Again, very, very common functions, so therefore they're on the home ribbon. I have a list of functions here. More functions brings up a dialog box. Another way I get to built-in functions is to hit the insert function box. Again, you get the insert function dialog box, or I can come all the way over here to the formulas ribbon, and you can see when I talk about there's a lot of them. Financial, I don't know how many that is, but it's a lot. Again, accounting is a huge use of Excel, so obviously almost anything you'd want to do. Logical, not as many, but still quite a few. Text functions, there's quite a few. Date and time functions, lookup and reference functions, math and trig functions, a whole lot of those, and even more. Okay, those are statistical engineering. So you can see I have been using Excel for 20 plus years. I have never used most of these built-in functions, but I'm sure they exist for a reason, and I'm sure there's someone somewhere that uses all of them at some point. We're not going to get that into it, although I will show you when we get to more advanced functions, how do you understand how to use a function if you've never used it before. But that's the general introduction. The most common one, again, that we're going to do is sum. I'm going to go back to the home ribbon, although if you noticed on formulas, we also have the auto sum here. And I'm going to introduce the sum function. We talked about ranges before, top left, bottom right. That's where this starts to come into play. So if I want to know how many problems Clippy solved the first half of the year, and I'm actually, hold on a second, I'm going to take that to comma, 0 decimal places, because that makes more sense. I can sum them. I'm going to hit the auto sum button. I'm going to choose sum. Okay, it's going to come up. Now what it's going to do is it's going to put the equal I told you about, and then the keyword, which is sum, left parenthesis. It's going to guess a range. Excel's pretty smart. It guesses what you want to do. Most of the time it's right, but you always want to check. The range is highlighted. I'm looking. Yep, I want to sum January through June. That's correct. I press enter. Now that's one quick, easy way to get the sum function in. There's actually more ways. I could type equal sum, left parenthesis, highlight the range I want to sum, close my parenthesis, and press enter. So that's another way. I could select the range like that and hit the sum function, and it will add that range in the next blank. That works when you have a spreadsheet set up like this one. It doesn't work all the time, but that's a nifty little trick. Or if you remember, I introduced briefly the concept of the fill handle for putting in the months. It works on formulas too. The fill handles that little black box. We'll do a whole video on that later, but I could fill it like that. So those are 4 different ways of entering the sum function. A 5th way, if I want to sum all of the columns, little trick here, select all the columns, hit sum, and it will put sums in each of them. And again, it's summing the correct range, okay, there. And you see how it changes as I fill it. Now I'm going to actually go back to this one and get rid of those for a second. If I forget that I have the fill handle and I decide to enter, okay, so I did sum here, I'm going to hit the auto sum button and sum here. Watch what happens on this one. I'm going to hit auto sum and it's going to guess, and as you can see, it guesses wrong. Okay, it's guessing I want to add the numbers above, not to the left. That's a problem. So you always want to check the range, okay, and if it doesn't guess right, you can fix it, okay. But as when we introduce the fill handle, you'll see I highly recommend, once you have a formula or function in your worksheet that works, if you need it in multiple cells, so say we want to sum all of these, I highly recommend you use that fill handle and you just fill that formula all the way down. Okay, so that's the sum function. We're going to learn about a lot of other functions a little later on, but that's a good introduction to what you're going to be doing with sum.